Hello, my name is Russell Myers. Welcome to Issues Unite. Now, there's been a debate going on for a few years now about increasing the minimum wage to $15. Now, this a lot of the opposition to this claims that all this will do is to increase prices for consumer goods and services. There's a little bit of truth to that, but and that it would destroy small businesses. This is not what would destroy small businesses. Paying a living wage is not what would destroy small businesses. If you increase wages, the fact is that more people have more money to spend at small businesses. Most of us actually support small businesses. My favorite places to eat, throughout my life have always been little mom and pop, hole in the wall, independently owned restaurants, which have dwindled in number and replaced with what? Corporate chains. So you got your choice of fried this or fried that, or mass produced whatever that's, it's got no difference. you know sure, I like consistency. If I go to you know one chain restaurant in one city or state and then go to the same chain restaurant in another city or state, I want to be able to get the same food, but I don't want nothing but chain restaurant, chain restaurant, chain restaurant all the way down the street. I would much rather be contributing to small business owners and their success. But a lot of the time, they do cost more for small businesses, but that's because they have to compete with the corporate chains. So, the part of it, the $15 wage, first of all, it is a false flag target to even consider right now. It's I'm very much in favor of increasing the minimum wage and increasing wages in general. But the thing that is suppressing wages isn't what workers are being paid. It is the greed of the corporate owners and investors and executives that actually are suppressing wages. It's not the, immigrants, legal or illegal. It is not the wages being paid out. It is absolutely the profit margins of the wealthy. So, if we really want to address wages, there are a lot of options, and which need to be used in conjunction with increasing the minimum wage. Some of these options include putting a percentage cap on profits for corporate owned businesses. You know, a percentage of revenue which is allowed, and anything above that is taxed at 100%. Now, this would have to include various things, like you cannot count, executive bonuses as an expense. That would be taken out of revenue. That, that would be taken out of post tax revenue. Even if you're handing them stocks, the dollar value of the stock or any other executive benefits would have to be declared in a whole dollar amount and paid out after taxes. You could not count advertising as an expense that would have to come out of the general revenue after tax. A major thing that would help would be that all businesses, corporate or privately owned, have to pay a specific minimum for wages, a certain specific percentage of revenue on wages. Now so you would have several floors here. They have to meet the $15 minimum wage, and then further up you have to pay out a percentage of profits in wages to non-executive employees. Executive employees from mid-management on up would not count. So these things, with the cap on profits and then a requirement that a percentage of revenue be paid out to the workers. One thing, this would level off the difference in wages between corporate and private businesses, so that small businesses have a fighting chance. Even if a business tried to, terminate workers to avoid paying this, it would not affect the percentage that they have to pay out to the workers. They want to automate as many jobs as possible? Fine, go ahead. The same percentage will still have to be paid out to the remaining workers. And if someone worked for you for 6 months, they are eligible for 50% of that benefit. It could be paid out this could be paid out as quarterly or biannual or annual bonuses to the workers on top of their regular pay. There would be no giant, motive for corporations to be making trillion-dollar profits. All included, I am in favor of putting a minimum wage as a percentage of profit to employees, but corporate executive pay would have to come out of the general revenue. So it would take a massive study to determine the right percentages for this, but it would be realistic. Now, another problem with increasing the minimum wage is that it does no good to have a high minimum wage if there are no jobs. This doesn't do anything to create jobs. So, maybe in the long term, if enough people have a living wage that are working, have a living wage, you can increase the number of jobs. As they spend their wages, you create jobs. But when nobody has anything to spend, how are you going to do this? You cannot just say you've got to pay this much out and think that it's going to magically change anything when so much of the country, tens of millions, they're saying about 10% of the nation is unemployed. I'd say it's closer to 30, even 40% of the workforce is unemployed right now. So you're not really hitting the economy in real terms by increasing the wage. And I've made this argument about supporting unions. Well, okay, fine, union power, but if you don't have any workers that are working and in the union, how much power does the union have? None. None at all. It takes active workers being in the union for the benefits to get anywhere. You can't fight for workers' rights if there's no jobs for the workers to be working in. That's just rhetoric. It's false flag targets. It's talking points. It doesn't mean anything. All right, so other things that would have to be, not allowed as expenses would be investor dividends and stock repurchases. Up until Reagan was in office, corporations buying back their own stock to manipulate stock prices was illegal in this country. And ever since then has been, you look at a graph, and ever since then, we have seen the flow of wealth going to the top. And the formation of larger and larger monopolies. So, if you take away these motivations, these greed, this hoarding of wealth, then you have a much better chance of graduating more toward equality for workers between corporations and small businesses. Small businesses, they're not driven out of business by paying their workers a living wage. Joe's Diner didn't go out of business because, if they served good food, Joe's Diner didn't go out of business by paying the waitress and the cook. They went out of business because of the corporate restaurant across the street opening up, and, he couldn't compete. Joe couldn't compete with what the prices of the chain restaurant. If small businesses do try to compete on a price point, they're at a distinct disadvantage. So if we try to build a system where small businesses have a fighting chance, then we'll see an explosion of small businesses that actually succeed. Right now, about 90% of small businesses prior to this year, pick any given year, 90% of small businesses failed. Mostly because of competition from corporate entities. That's the biggest reason they fail. You can read all these books and magazines and all this stuff about how it's the fault of the business owner. Well, no, not really. You can open up a small business and have a booming business, but then some corporation comes in, opens up across the street from you, and wipes you out. It's not regulations that drive small businesses under. It's regulations that protect workers and the environment, etc. Anyway, so I'm very much in favor of increasing the minimum wage, increasing wages in general. But just focusing on the minimum wage as a standalone issue is very simplistic and naive. Because if you increase wages, yes, the greed of the corporate, the business owners is what's going to take hold and drive up prices, because the investors and executives are still going to demand, higher and higher profits and laying off workers so that they will save the wages and keep it for themselves. This is how this works. If you're not actually demanding that more of a share of the business goes to the workers, then your $15 wage is just going to it will just increase prices, and it will eliminate more jobs. All right? So we need to look at the bigger picture on things. This is way too simple to just say, the fight for 15, all that stuff. Yes, I support it, but as a part of a much larger picture. All right, please share this video, click subscribe, and, talk about these issues. And if you can, please donate $1 a month to help expand the channel, and I will catch you on the next video. Thank you.